And there we have it. So we're now being recorded. So at the end of this, this will all be on my website.
Okay.
Should anybody, normally I never know how many people are going to show up, being in the middle of the week and at
Yep.
a weird hour.
Yep.
It's never anything that's crazy. Shouldn't say never, hardly ever. So, do you know Cynthia?
I don't.
I don't either. Cynthia, don't know who she is. Oh, well. So talk to me about your business. So you've now backed out of it quite a bit. Is that what,
Yep.
is that correct?
Yes. Yep.
So how long, why don't we take this from start? So you and I were introduced to a mutual friend, Mark Bennett, who unfortunately is no longer with us. And how long ago was that? I know Dane
2000,
and I,
2003.
2003.
Yep.
Wow. It is that long ago, huh?
Seems like it now.
It seems like forever.
Yep.
Jesus. Yeah, Dane and I both came. I think I may have come out originally, and then Dane and I came out together.
Yep. Yep.
And so that was really quite a bit of 21 years ago. Wow.
Yeah.
And Mark had changed the name of your company prior to it being RBS. I forget what the name of the company was at that time, but the name eludes me at the moment.
Thunderbridge.
Thunderbird?
Thunderbridge.
Thunderbridge, that's it.
Yep.
Now I
Yep.
remember. Yep.
Yep.
And so now it's obviously RBS. You also have some other businesses now.
As far as in the printing stuff,
No, I mean, besides printing.
we're basically kind of doing property rentals and property. So we're more
Okay.
into, yep, doing that. So kind of non-business or non-screen printing.
And you also have a workout facility or something?
Yep. Yep. We have a gym called Flex Fitness Center that me and my son run.
Well, it's a good way to get in shape, I guess,
Yep.
huh?
Yep. You betcha.
Yeah, you can't go in there being too much overweight and expect people to believe that you're one of the people who's involved.
Exactly.
Yeah, I should probably join a gym somewhere along the line. Who knows? I think as I get older, the idea of working out seems less and less tasty to me.
Mm-hmm.
But nevertheless, but yeah, when Dana and I first came out, so how long have you been in business altogether
So
in the screen printing business?
1987, so it'd be 37 years.
Wow. Okay. Not bad.
Yeah, hanging in there. It's going good.
97. So I remember when I came out there, you had one or two automatics. I don't remember exactly. I know you had several, and you had bits and pieces of all kinds of other stuff.
Yep.
And we have Ritschard Greaves joining us. He must be bored. But yeah, I remember your place was a bit on the scattered side at the time. Richard, how are you?
Very good.
Good to see you. Do you know Keith?
Unfortunately, no.
Ah,
But
well,
everybody knows Ritschard. I know Ritschard.
oh, there you go.
He's a Milwaukee boy, I believe.
Oh yes, definitely. Glendale.
Yep.
At the top of Milwaukee County.
Yep. Know right where we are.
And you're up in Argyle.
Yep.
Wisconsin.
About 2 hours from him.
How far are you from Madison?
1 hour.
1 hour. Because I may be doing some work up there a little later on in Middleton.
Yep.
Which is a suburb of Madison, I guess.
Probably Top Promotions.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, Craig and I go back quite a ways.
Know him well. He's my friend.
You're friends with Craig?
Yep. Yep.
I don't know if I want to be your friend then.
We're kind of out of the same mold.
Yeah, he's in the midst of trying to buy up companies.
Is he?
Yeah, seems that way. One of these days, who knows? I'll figure it out. In any event, you started out way back then. How big is your company now?
So we have 44 employees,
Wow.
8 outside salesmen. Equipment wise, we have 4 M&R automatics. We have 2 screen wash machines. We have 2 direct to screen exposure units. We have 1 large screen washing unit. We just purchased the direct DTF, a Quattro. So we're just getting into that, which has been good. So we're pretty decked out with equipment. We have probably the longest dryer in the United States. I know it is. It's, what is it? Probably 95 feet long.
Now, I built one years ago, or maybe you're right. I built one with 50 feet of in-feed, 30 feet of heat, and 10 out. And they were doing dips and sprays on discharge. And based on that, they were able to do 500 an hour.
Well,
But that's a long time ago and a long ways. That dryer is definitely not around anymore.
yeah, yeah,
But that was one of the old Ray Paul dryers.
yep.
I loved Ray Paul dryers. I mean,
I did too.
they definitely did a great job all the way up until Carl Krumsick got involved with them.
Yeah,
Then they went to shit. But
yep.
oh well. All of a sudden, I found that what I was selling a dryer for was less than what I could buy it for once he took over.
Yeah,
And I was like, really? Overnight? So who knows? Interesting industry. There's been so many changes of ownerships of different companies and different situations. Richard, you were involved with Ray Paul, weren't you, at one time with Paul Neal?
No, just friendly. I
Okay.
like the construction. It had a lot more science than what you found in other dryers of the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when I first met Paul Neal, I went to his place, and it was the first time that I actually had somebody turn on a flash where, I had my hand under it and he turned it on, an instant burn. And it was like, whoa, that was fast. Yeah, he was a pretty interesting guy. And then his son David took over and probably made every bad decision you could make. But that's the way things are at times.
Bad teacher, or he didn't listen. One of the two.
You know what happened when you tell somebody that they shouldn't go into a particular deal and they don't want to believe you, and then they go into it, and a year later they come up to you and say, "I should have listened to you."
Yeah, yeah.
After he pretty much lost everything. Too bad. Life goes on. But you were one of those guys who actually did listen.
Yep.
I remember Dane and I spent a fair amount of time up at your place, including golfing. I saw that you just had a big golfing outing, huh?
Yep.
I didn't get invited, though.
Well, we can put you on the list.
Well, you didn't, but my golf game is such that I'm not sure that coming up there would have made a whole lot of sense anyway.
You would have fit right in with the golfers that we have.
I don't think I picked up a club now in about 10 years. Ever since I had a problem with the knee, I kind of stopped hitting that little ball. I probably should start again. I need to do something to get some exercise in besides sitting in front of my computer, which is no exercise at all. So tell me something. Tell me where you're going, where you're off to, and what new ventures you're working with. I know you mentioned DTF. You got 8 salespeople. When I was up there, I think it was you, your wife, and one or two other people, maybe?
Yep, brothers, a couple of brothers and a sister, and a few of our friends.
Okay,
A little bit
and you're
smaller.
up to 44 people now.
Yep,
Phew, that's a nice growth.
yep. It's good. We're comfortable.
Yeah, I remember when I had my company up to about 30 to 35, I really enjoyed it. Once it got too much beyond that, not so much fun anymore.
Yep, yep,
When you can't remember the names of the people who are working for you, it's not so good. When they can't remember your name, it's even worse.
yep, yep,
So,
yep.
but you're still active there on a daily basis?
Yep. I come in every day. I do a lot of other things at the gym, kind of in the morning doing that business, and then I'm doing some general contracting on some buildings where we're refurbishing an old department store and making it into a banquet hall. But basically, I'm fortunate. My 29-year-old daughter and 31-year-old daughter, one's more on the numbers side, that does payroll and human resource, and the other one's built a lot like me, where she's the more the workload and making the facility operate better, efficient. So
Okay.
I think with them being more computer oriented, and both having college degrees in business management, they're definitely running it better than I did. So I'm very fortunate.
Yeah, I remember when they were really, really young kids,
Yep, yep.
especially your son, I guess.
Yeah, my son said, "Who's Charlie?"
Yeah,
He didn't
Oh,
remember it, but the two girls do. So he's 24 now. So he would have been
yeah,
little. Yep, 3.
yeah. And you still have your beer can collection?
Yep, yep.
Oh,
Just
well,
one of those things you can't get rid of.
I guess not. Um, yeah, no, I remember your kids pretty well.
Yep.
And yeah, they're all grown up now.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing, huh? Kind of look
Yep.
back at it and try and figure out how the time has just gone away.
Yep. No, that's for sure.
But yeah, I mean, I know my daughter is now gonna be 45, something like that. Frightening.
Yes, it is.
Uh, oh well. Uh, anyway, Richard, what are you up to?
um, mostly it seems that spent the last 3 weeks going to funerals.
Oh, you have to go to a funeral?
Well, it was family stuff, but it makes you
Uh,
think about death. It makes you think about end of life and death a lot.
yeah,
But
I know my my brother passed away at the end of March, and we're still in the midst of trying to get the probate will worked out and get his apartment taken care of. I mean, it's just a zoo, and nothing good comes of those things.
No.
But yeah, it's unfortunate when those things happen. And in my case, I was not very close to my brother and just got that phone call that said, "Hey, here's the deal. He's gone." And it's like, really? Okay. Hop on a
now,
plane, hop on a plane, fly to New York, try and straighten out some of his um, dealings, not know where to even start. But yeah, ugly stuff. Oh
Mm-hmm.
well, not the way I want to go. I could
No.
think of better things, but it's an amazing thing when you have family and you don't have a real closeness, how screwed up things can become.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Oh well. Um, Richard, thanks so much for taking care of, I forget her name now, Dorothy,
Dolores.
Dolores. How was that?
We're on a recorded line.
I will leave that alone. Um, interesting. I mean, she sent me a thing saying this is what can you give us estimates on these things? It's like, how do you give estimates to somebody when they don't have anything to give you an estimate on? How many people do I need? How much work do you want to produce? Anyway, and it's all going to be done in Kenya. That could be very interesting, both good or bad. But I'll chat with you sometime about that.
Understood.
We'll see if there's anything worthwhile. I'm actually heading out in your direction. I'm flying into Detroit tomorrow,
Ah,
and then heading south into Ohio. The beginnings of my short summer road trip. Normally I drive it. Didn't get anybody in the Midwest, so it was fly out, go to work with a client, hop back on a plane, fly to Pennsylvania, work with a client, drive to Maryland, and back to Pennsylvania and home. And potentially going up to Middleton to work with Craig. But short road trip this year. Too bad. So here's a question that I have. I've been speaking to some people who all feel pretty much the same way, that like the first half of the year, things were booming, things were moving, and then all of a sudden everything just kind of stopped and dried up. You're finding that Keith, you're finding yourself in that type of position, or no?
The months were different, the numbers than normal, but they're tempered, but they ended up being about the same.
Okay.
So
Ritschard, what are you hearing out there?
so it's about 50-50 because clients that I have that have been preparing, clients that I have that have been, anticipating seasonal ups and downs, they've done well because they've reached out to clients that they worked with over the last 5 years, let's say, and know that, you ordered in June, you ordered in July, they're anticipating things.
Yeah.
And those people that had active accounts like that, they haven't had the same ups and downs. But if people people are not showing up, that's advertising and marketing failure. They're not reaching out. They're not communicating with their potential clients.
Well, I was talking to Eric from Action Engineering, and like he said, his business just dried up, and he did some calls to a lot of his clients, and they all pretty much had the same thing, that the money from COVID that they had gotten, they finally spent it all, and now they've just stopped. And it seems that even a lot of screen print shops, their clients pretty much did the same thing, where they used their money that they got from COVID. They bought all kinds, equipment sales were booming, everything was booming. And then they used up that money, and then they decided, wow, now I'm into my own money. I think I'm going to stop. And
Well, that makes me, those people were living in the past. They're spending money from 2020.
and they
So
were, and they had all that money that, COVID put a lot of money into a lot of people's pockets. And unfortunately not mine, but I'm sure you're in the same boat as I am.
and then they went to the casino and gambled, or just they lived it out and lived on the COVID money. So that's
Yeah.
we felt pretty fortunate. We basically, were able to pay our employees when we weren't working, and didn't do the stupid stuff, and paid everything down. Made payments.
Which is really good. I mean,
And that's
I
what
don't
it
mean
was
that.
for.
I don't mean that every company went stupid,
Yeah.
but a lot of them purchased a lot more than what they needed, and all of a sudden, that money dried up, which wasn't their money. I mean,
Yep.
it was their money, but it wasn't money that they had earned, so to speak. And so they kind of were pretty loose with it.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden now, everybody's holding up tight on whatever they do have, because now it's their own money.
Yep.
And rather than actually taking advantage of certain situations, they're just not. They're just kind of holding back and sitting on it, which Certainly for me as a consultant, not so good. Richard, I don't know how much it's impacting your business, but I'm finding that a lot of the companies, like last year, I was so busy during my road trip that I ended up with a case of sciatica from sitting in my damn car for so long. I mean, I worked for 3 weeks and put on 6,500 miles. A lot of travel, but also a lot of accounts. This year, I don't have to worry about sciatica. I mean, my longest trip will be from Pennsylvania to Maryland, 3 hours. Not a big deal for me, but yeah, a lot of the companies that I went to see last year, this year are like, nope, we can't do anything. Kind of interesting for me.
Yeah, it's tempering a little bit with the spending. You can tell with other, facets of carpentry to whatever, they're slowing a little bit,
Yeah.
too. Whether it's
Yeah, I
the
mean,
interest rate or just
even the companies that
spending.
I saw last year, 2 of them had just gotten into order. 3 of them had just gotten into automatics, probably because of the monies that they had acquired.
Yeah,
And this year they're just trying to make ends meet, so to speak.
yeah. And that all has to do with pricing and, not being the 5 cents cheaper than the other guy. And we don't do contract work. So we're fortunate that when we deal with schools and businesses that we're still selling on, delivering in 2 to 3 days in quality, rather than, going the other way and being cheaper than everybody else in contract, because I'm sure contracts tightening up a little bit. Where schools, the kids still, with online stores and smaller, we don't have huge accounts. Our biggest account's 400,000, and the next one too, it's 100, and then it drops way off. So we don't have all our apples in one basket, which, kind of learning through you guys telling us things that you grasp what's going on, and we're in good shape because of it.
Yeah, I think if you're going to be a contract shop, that's what you should be, is period, contract shop,
Yeah.
where you can gear up to the size orders and I used to do that when I had my shop, which of course is going way back, but I don't see any positive things in being a contract shop unless you're really focused on it.
Yeah.
And certainly when you're dealing with smaller situations that are more customized, you do have the ability to charge more.
Yep.
And quality and productivity and delivery are all really part of that package, which is fine. You do have to give your customer a reason for paying you a bit more. But my own feeling is, if price was the only thing that counted, then everybody'd be driving a Yugo. Of course, there are no more Yugos, but nevertheless.
And I think that we do a lot of online stores with schools and businesses. So, not only they don't have inventory, don't have to deal with money, but that's
Right.
a little bit more liquid all the time where, yeah, parent might buy one less shirt, so it affects our bottom line, but we're still selling, so it's like that world doesn't drop off at zero, where Budweiser or a large corporate account says, I'm not doing the 50 or 130,000 shirts, and Coors says, I'm not doing it. They're done, where we're stable. Where,
Yeah.
those big hitters, that money leaves really fast.
Well, you've grown your company slowly over the years. I mean, you grew it to
Yeah.
a nice size right now, but it's not like you woke up one day and hired 20 more people.
Yep. It's definitely a slow growth, which is good. Better.
Yeah, well, you add on what you have to because unfortunately for you, for where you are, you're able to get employees. I think that's one of the biggest challenges still, is finding employees.
Yep.
I work with a company here in Denver that is willing to hire anybody who wants to walk through the door. And unfortunately, they walk through the door and then they turn around and walk out the door as well. They're not prepared to really put in a decent day, or they just can't get an understanding of screen print.
Yep.
Not that it's the most challenging thing in the world, but at the same time, you do have to have some skills, or you do have to develop some skills. And Last time I was there, he had 2 new employees. They were looking okay. He went away, had to go away for a trip. They had to get, I don't know, like 150 sweatshirts printed. He came back 2 days later and they still hadn't finished them. And it's like, you can't, boom, out of here. I mean, it's one thing to be, understanding. It's something else where it's like, really, it's 150 sweatshirts. Okay. Takes several hours to do it. It can't take several days to do it.
Yeah.
Then it just comes down to how much money did you lose on this deal? And he's finding himself in that position more often than he likes to be in. But sometimes being in a small town definitely has its advantages. The opportunities outside of your place, I don't know how many other major businesses there are, but obviously not that many. I guess the biggest thing is when you can flip burgers at McDonald's for $16 an hour. Better off is something decent. He starts out a person with no experience whatsoever at 18 an hour.
I believe it.
And even with that, can't attract a whole lot of anything, and is willing to bump up their salary as their abilities improve. Tough going.
We live in a rural area, so you know that it's like 700 people. And the county doesn't even have a stoplight, but the people we hire, Madison's an hour away, Monroe's 10,000, and that's 15 miles away. So there's all rural towns of under 3,800 people. So the people we get, have a little bit of work ethic from the farm family type thing, and we're not competing for a job with other cities, so they're factory jobs. So we feel like we have a little bit of an offering that's better with vacation, letting them go when they need to, and the young ones we've been filling. We've had retirements now, but we're filling the shoes of them, and the younger kids are decent. They don't come when you say 7 o'clock. They don't all come at 7 o'clock. That's one thing we found, and they like their phones. So some of them it's excessive. You got to put your phone over there because you're on it all the time. But they can still operate with them. But they're different, but they're still good ones. I won't. I defend them. There's some here that they work better than some of them that have left. They're better workers. So, but we know everybody before they come in here. Town of 800, within a half hour, I know everything about them because somebody knows something about them. So we're lucky.
Yeah.
We know what we're getting.
Yeah, you definitely are. I mean, when someone comes through your door and you know something about them, whether it's somebody that you want to invest some time and money into or not.
Yep.
And if you don't, then never make it through the interview appropriately.
Yep. But wages have definitely went up. That's
an
interesting topic, but our prices have went up. So that's we have salesmen that are really uncomfortable with selling at the prices we are because of what we need to make to pay everybody now. And
it is what it is.
Yeah, it is. Because we have 401k and health insurance, and it's like when that tops the list, the insurance guy health comes in, it's 20% higher. Sorry, and he just smiles. There ain't nowhere to go.
Well, the reality is you can't negotiate your gasoline either.
Nope.
It is what it is, and you don't have to like it. I know it was interesting. So I had to do a quick shout out to Nebraska. So I went to the gas station I usually go to, and he was at $3.69 a gallon. And I remember going down the road a little bit, and they were at $2.99 a gallon. So jumped in there, got my $2.99. That was a couple of weeks ago. Picked up gas earlier this week at $2.89. Went past my same station, and he's now at $3.39. I mean, the shifts are like, it used to be a couple of cents one way or another. Now it's like 30, 40, 50 cents a gallon overnight. And it's like, where the hell does it come from?
Yeah.
you know, and you've got two choices, take it or leave it. Well, if you leave it, you're not going anywhere.
Yep. And
And
I actually believe with prices when COVID hit, I believe that companies were taking advantage of everybody and using, and I agree, some weren't getting the products to make their product, but though, you know, like apparel was going, we had 1,200 products on our website and we had to change it 4 times in 1 year because, and it takes hours to do all that stuff. And, you know, ink, it's like, here's a new price, here's the chemicals, here's a new price. And they're still doing it. You know, everybody that comes in here, contractors with electric, you know, it was 65 an hour, they're up to 100 around here. It's just, it's crazy.
yeah, it is. It's everywhere.
Yep.
And you know, you have to adjust your pricing accordingly. You know, I don't know what, I mean, fortunately, I don't have to buy garments or anything. I don't know what they go for, but you know, I can remember the days where you could buy garments for $1.50 a piece.
Yep.
And you know, you wanted to go to nicer garments, you were at $2 and change. And I don't know where they are now, but I would guess that the bottom line is above $2.50. And you know, I remember printing prices when I had my company, which doesn't count because it's way too far back. But you know, pricing today is like really difficult to comprehend at times.
Yeah,
But you do have to make, you know, you have to make what you have to make, and that's part of the deal.
we purchased shirts, I was telling my daughter, here in the early 2000s, and they were 66 cents a piece for white. And I think they're probably Fruit-O-Loom we switched to Gildan. And I was mad because this, then like 5 days later, they were 60 cents and they're no, too bad. And now we're at 260 for a white t-shirt. So it's a lot different.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I've got a guy who wants me to help him try and sell his garments. Problem is, you have to buy it by the container load.
Yeah.
And you sent me some garments which are beautiful, I have to admit. But I just don't know a whole lot of companies that are ready to jump for a container load of anything.
Yeah.
Not unless they have massive
Yeah.
accounts
And
where they know they can do that. But
exceptional price on them, and you know you're going to be able to sell them, you know.
well, and these, I have to admit, the weight on these sweatshirts and stuff that he sent me, beautiful.
Yeah.
But you know, I think they're making a mistake trying to sell that kind of bulk, because the number of companies in this country that can actually deal with it are relatively few.
Yep. Because that's all import pre-printed before it gets here.
Yep. So you're going to be going to the show in Vegas, or taking your wife with you?
Yeah, I go to any show I can. It's at anywhere they're at now, because that's happy hour now. I don't have to, it isn't all work now.
So you're going to do any overseas shows?
I'd like to do FESPA. It's like every time I say I want to do it, then I just see an ad and then it's the next week. So I got to get on that to know when they are a little earlier.
Yeah, well, I think that FESPA, other than this year, which was in March, which was stupid, because of another massive show called Drupa. I think Drupa was 11 days long.
Well,
but FESPA moved to March, but generally they're in May or June.
And a lot of those are in Germany?
They do Germany pretty often. The last one I think was in Amsterdam, but that's because Drupa was going to be, is always in Germany. And so they didn't want to be anywhere near that area.
Yeah.
But yeah, but FESPA has shows all over the world. They do the one in Europe, they do one in the Middle East, they do one in Turkey, they do, I don't know if they're doing one in Thailand or not right now. But yeah, the overseas shows are very different than American shows, especially European shows and stuff. They can bring their own food, their own booze. They bring waiters, they bring bartenders with them. Love doing those shows.
I enjoy the Long Beach show in January. That one's a great show.
Oh, that one's great for the U.S. That has actually become the best screen print show in the world.
Yep. Yep.
Bar none.
Yep. Excellent.
It's just not as much fun as European shows because of all of the food and booze and everything in the European shows.
Yep. And it used to be the person that owned a main company that you bought from would take you out because they knew you bought it and you knew them. And now with corporate, I could spend 200,000 and they don't even know who you are. You know, I
Yeah.
won't say any names, but I told them I bought a couple of machines worth 250,000. They went, okay, thanks. And I'm like, thanks for inviting me to your party. And let me know more about it, maybe buying more. But so that's really fallen off the entertainment side of it.
Well, they're starting to do more and more of the parties after the show than
Yeah.
there was a stretch where they did none.
Yep. Yep.
And then at last year's Long Beach show, there were quite a number of quote unquote cocktail party or dinner type things hosted by some of the bigger companies.
Yep.
Nothing like it used to be back in the day when Ritschard and I would hit the shows, when Don Newman would have his, he had the best show. I mean, he always had the best party, but things are
I'll take
starting.
some credit. I'll take some credit for that.
Well, I always went to Newman's because he always had the weirdest food, which I always loved. I mean, I'm a fan of anything that's weird. And I remember Don always had stranger foods than anybody else. Everybody else was very conventional. He was not. But yeah, they are starting to do more and more of those though.
Yeah.
I know the one from Avian is one that I did jump into among others. And I'm expecting to see more and more of that each year. Competition is getting a little more fierce, I guess. Certainly on the equipment level, there's a hell of a lot more going on.
Yeah.
It used to be M&R and then there was some MHM. Now it's M&R and Rock and MHM is starting to try and make a little bit of a move again. And there are a lot of foreign machines. So
yeah, and there's still new technology. It's relatively slow, like embroidery. The new machines are a little bit better, and we kind of dumped our old machines. We got new ones where the technology is a little bit better, and we found an ink that works way better than the ink we thought worked well. And it's like a little hunt that you go on to try to find things and ask people, and sometimes you don't find it, but we're looking for smooth, thin ink that goes through screens and looks good on them.
Yeah. Well, and there's so many new ink companies as well. I mean, Avian purchased a bunch of companies that were in existence, but you have quite a few foreign companies that are now coming in that have some really nice product at pricing that's quite respectable.
Yeah.
There was a time where no one would buy an ink from a foreign country other than Canada.
Yeah.
And now you've got them coming in from quite a few other countries, quite a lot of other countries actually. So it's just a matter of getting them, checking them out, testing them out, seeing if they do what they're supposed to do, when they're supposed to, and if they have enough inventory in the States.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for a lot of them, they're putting in quite a lot of inventory here. So interesting stuff. And price point wise, they're pretty much on the money. I mean, they're lower than a lot of the American companies. Not that that's the most critical thing, but really it's just the quality of product that counts more than anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah, technology is always changing. Much as I'm a screen print guy, I certainly do agree with the fact that some of the newer technology is something that you have to keep in mind, whether you like it or not. And
I'm blown away by technology, and I started in college on a little simple course, and we had press type letters and cut them out with the X-Acto knife. Did the protractor, stuck them all on, then went into the dark room, shot it on film, and came out with the amberlith, the rubylith, and cut them all out. And I tell people that now we don't even have a manual printer. The printers now is set a one. We don't do one shirt, but if there's 8, 10 of them, they set it up in automatic and click it in faster than they can a manual. And it's just we've always had one and we got rid of it. It's just crazy though, you know, and the direct to screen DTF, you know, it's revolutionary. But
Yeah,
some people, you know, a lot of these little mom and pop printers, and that's why we opted to get bigger, is you can't buy this stuff if you have one manual press and you're doing 2,000 or, you know, 1,000 shirts a week on a manual press. You can't afford to buy that technology, and that's why we kind of got bigger. Is like, you know, and I love the technology, but you know, these are my family, my friends that are printing these shirts, and I want it to be easy for them and less banging on their shoulders, and I'll do anything to make it easy for them. You know.
yeah. Well, more and more people as we all get older, uh, of the clients that I saw last year that bought automatics, several of them purchased automatics, not because they needed the automatic, but they were tired of moving a squeegee by hand
Yep, yep, yep,
and just needed a easier way to stay in
yep,
business.
yep,
And so,
yep,
which to me made all the sense in the world. You know, there was a time where um, when we were young, you never thought about an automatic in terms of replacing a manual. You thought of it in terms of the type of business you could generate with it.
yep,
Now it's just so that you don't have to do the manual labor.
yep, yep. Speed. I like speed.
Speed doesn't hurt. You know, I mean,
No.
the reality is when you do have an automatic, you can certainly get out there and boast about how much you can produce in one day
Yep,
and go after the bigger accounts.
yep,
But I know a lot of the older guys that I know are not worried about the bigger accounts. They're just looking at it from the side of on Friday, I don't feel like having all these aches and pains from
yep,
printing all week long.
yep,
And so, you know, loading and unloading a shirt is a whole hell of a lot easier than moving that squeegee.
yep. It is. Yep.
So, not a
And
bad thing.
consistency is good too with it.
Consistency is definitely part of the package. You know,
Yep,
the downside of an automatic is when it's bad, you're producing a whole lot of bad
yep,
stuff real fast.
yep,
Um, then again, you know, welcome to the world of screen print. You better learn how to print.
yep. And I think
And
you would agree, screen printing is always going to be here, but like the DTF and direct to garment, the DTF is nice when we do these stores and they sell 3 or 6 of them and it's a 3 color on a pair of shorts or an oddity or a bag. Well, you can't even jig it out sometimes the screen printed on a press where that DTF is just like glue on them, you know.
you know,
I'm
it's
impressed.
funny when DTF first started to hit, the thing was it was going to replace screen print. And
It
the
was
funny thing is, what it ended up replacing more than anything else was DTG.
Yes, I feel bad for them. I was just thinking that the other day
Right?
that's going to be a scary world because if they're printing a shirt in a minute and a half to 2 minutes, you know, you print it out as fast as it comes out, and digitally, if it takes you 10 seconds to line it up and 8 seconds to heat press, so you probably got, you know, 25 seconds in or a half minute, you
Yeah.
know, so
Yeah.
you're already beating it.
What's interesting is when I did the ITMA show in Milan last year, Cornette showed their new $1.8 million machine that you still had to load by hand. And I'm thinking, okay, so you load it by hand and then everything else is automated. So what? For $1.8 million? Give me one of the smaller machines, I'll load and unload it by hand.
And I think
But
sometimes the print quality, because we do tri blends and polyester with schools and just the world has changed with synthetics, that a lot of those DTGs can't do that well. And then if you have a sweatshirt that has a pocket on it, ridge, it's like, well, that's too close, so you can't do it, or it's got a content, I can't print that. And we had contractors doing it, and they actually, the stuff was terrible that they were doing. And I'm like, this isn't good enough for my customer. And nope, that's what you get. And I'm like, then we got to stop this and go figure it out for ourselves. And that's kind of what the research and what we did.
yeah, well, just like anything else, you know, DTF, DTG, it doesn't matter. There are quality differences. There are price point differences, but
Yep,
there are definitely quality differences.
yep,
And, you know, it's the old story. You get what you pay for the most part. You know, you're going to buy a $20,000 machine to do DTG, and you're going to compete against an $80,000 machine. Could be interesting. Then again, you know, that was the whole thing with Dane. was teaching people how to set up their artwork correctly for DTG at that time. But with DTF, I mean, I've seen some that are pretty nice. I've felt some that are horrible.
Yeah.
You know, they just, sorry, the hand just isn't there. On a sweatshirt, no big deal. On a t-shirt, sorry, man. You know, I want something where wearing it is not going to create a massive amount of sweat because it's just a solid block.
Yep. Yep.
But it's still not going to replace screen print for a long time. Screen print still makes up well over 90% of the market.
Yep. I can believe that.
So, you know, they can boast all they want about how quick and easy DTG and DTF are, blah, blah, blah. The hybrid machines, I do understand, but you know, all of a sudden you're looking at $400,000 to $800,000 on a machine. Whole different ball game again.
Yep. Yep.
Oh, well, in any event, it was nice having you on.
Thank you.
I'm sure I'll get to see you and say hi to your wife for me.
Will do.
And see you in Vegas, I guess.
Sounds good.
At Printing United. Richard, you're going to be there, aren't you?
Yes, I'll be there.
Terrific. Well, we should all get together and maybe have a drink. It is Vegas, so we can do that any time of the day or night.
There we go.
Terrific.
Thanks
Keith,
for
thanks
signing
so
on,
much for being
Richard.
on. Richard, thank you. You and I should chat one of these times
Call
about
anytime.
my potential client in the Detroit area. We'll see. In
Call
any
anytime.
event, Keith, have a good one. Stay
You
in
bet.
touch.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.